So maybe just to get started here, I wanted to introduce myself quickly and just say a few words about NGP Capital. So I'm a partner there. We're a global investor managing 1.2 billion of assets at the moment. We invest in growth stage companies globally, active in China, India, Europe, and the US. And one of the focus areas for us is and has been smart mobility. And that's how we get to know Moovit originally. And we've been lucky to be part of the ride. And perhaps, Nir, if you could just maybe introduce yourself as well and really tell us about the company, kind of how you began and where you're going.
So when we started Moovit about 7 years ago, it was all about streamlining and make urban mobility easy for everybody. It started with the fact that we wanted to provide people within cities in the beginning mainly information. We started on the consumer side, providing an app where we figured out that the main problem for people within cities is get information about how to get from point A to point B. As we move forward, we understand that the challenges were that a lot of the cities around the world didn't have enough information about transit, and we grew very rapidly, mainly because we were able to put together a plan for volunteers to help us and build a community. And as we move forward, we grew to cover more than 2,800 cities around the world in 90 countries. We currently have more than 450 million users around the world, and we're growing in about 1 million users every day now. So as we move forward, that was our first mission, and we did it for the first 5 years to the point where we all agreed that we dominate this space. And in the last year and a half and 2 years, we actually started to move to the next phase, which is taking the amazing data that we've created and share it with cities, transit operators, municipalities, of course, and lately with strategic partners within the industry that we share our data with them.
So 1 million users per day and 450 million today. That's some reach there. And talking about then the really kind of what's happening and kind of thinking about the long-term evolution of the mobility space. How does Moovit play a part here, especially given kind of the reach and the type of user base you have?
So when we look at the way mobility is changing in the last 5 years and looking forward for the next 10 years, the world of urban mobility have changed and will change in the next 10 years more than it has been changed in the last 100 years. One of the biggest changes that we see relates to mobility as a service. People more and more will stop owning mode of transportations like a private car and will start to rely on purchasing a service, mobility as a service, purchasing a ride, paying per mile or paying per ride, and they would definitely be more focused on the ability to move with multiple modes of transportation. Going back to your question, the fact that Moovit is a multi-stack or full-stack solution allows us to take the data we collect today. By the way, we collect about 5 billion data points every day from our users. Take this into our big database using machine learning and generating a lot of information that helps people and helps cities to better plan and to get a clear visibility to the demand of transportation within the cities. So when we look forward, we see that more and more mobility will become a service that needs to be served based on the demand, taking in consideration the data we collect and also aggregating all modes of transportation together. will allow us to maybe remove some of the frictions that happens today switching between modes of transportation. Last thing we need to do about that is really provide the true multimodality trip planning. I don't know if you understand how difficult it is to build true multimodal trip plan. You know, you want to take Uber to the train station or have Uber waiting for you at the end of a train ride. This is a very high friction connection, because if you don't know what's the traffic situation and you miss the train in 2 minutes, it's a half an hour wait. And the driver of Uber cannot park for 5 or 10 minutes waiting for you at the train station. So this is the next step regarding multimodality.
Absolutely, and I mean, in the end of the day, that's how a great consumer experience can be built, because you know you don't want to be just thinking linearly. You have to be be able to smoothly kind of connect those different modes of transportation, and you know what you said about kind of mobility as a service and kind of Moovit as a mass company really makes a lot of sense. And you know the market is growing, it's evolving rapidly. Can you explain a bit more, you know, what's unique about your MaaS solution?
So I think about what's unique about Moovit, as I said in the beginning. First, it's our amazingly large database of people's movement, which we collect every day. The second thing is we're by far the largest transit data repository. Just to give you a perspective, we have about 70% more transit data than Google Maps, who is the second in line. So we take this information side by side with the fact that we are the only company that use crowdsource to build our data. Just to give you a perspective, about 3 to 4 million people actively volunteered to help us, and we qualified about almost 600,000 qualified editors that build and maintain transit data in their cities. That makes us very unique in this market. So we use this data to share with our strategic partners like Microsoft, Azure Maps, TomTom, Uber, and actually every ride-hailing large company in the world to make this data available to their users, but also we share this information with city planners and transit operators.
Yeah, so one last question here. So, we at NGP are very impressed with Moovit and with your leadership. You're a serial entrepreneur. I mean, this is your third company you've co-founded. So maybe, just last thoughts that, what's kind of different about this one, and particularly, how are you different with this?
So, as you mentioned, that's my third startup. The previous two were very successful, so it's not about money, even though Moovit worth now almost $1 billion. But I think it's way more about the fact that urban mobility is a basic human right. It actually allows people to be able to get paid by traveling to their workplace. It allows people to move between different areas freely. And the fact that we enables that, the fact that we impact the life of almost 500 million people right now, and it's growing rapidly, makes me feel like there's a very good reason to wake up every morning and change or maybe leave a small dent on the world of mobility. And by doing that, we feel like we're doing something very, very important to so many people, which is a very, very different feeling than my previous semiconductor company or enterprise software, when you're not sure what's your impact on the world. We're actually doing something that makes a difference. For me, that's the pinnacle of my career.
It's great stuff. Thank you, Nir.